I need to tell you something that will sound impossible, but I'm a scientist. I was a brain surgeon. I dealt in facts, in neurons, in measurable reality. And I'm telling you what happened to me on March 14, 2019, at 2:37 a.m., defies every law of medicine I spent 20 years studying. My name is Dr. Marcus Holloway. I was 46 years old. I had performed over 3,000 neurosurgeries. I had held human brains in my hands. I had mapped consciousness, studied the mechanics of thought, and concluded with absolute certainty that there was no soul, no afterlife, no God. Death was simply the permanent cessation of electrical activity in the brain. Final. Complete. The end. I was wrong. It started with a headache. Sharp. Blinding. Like someone had driven an ice pick through my left temple. I was in my office at Mass General, reviewing an MRI of a patient's glioblastoma, when the pain hit. I remember thinking, this is bad. This is very bad. I'm a neurosurgeon. I know the symptoms. Sudden thunderclap headache. Worst headache of your life. Classic presentation of. The words formed in my mind just as my legs gave out. Subarachnoid hemorrhage. Ruptured aneurysm. I was dying. I hit the floor. My assistant, Sarah, screamed. I heard her voice, distant, underwater, shouting for help. Code blue. Code blue. Dr. Holloway's office. I tried to speak, tried to tell her it was an aneurysm, tried to tell her to get me to Ward 5 where Dr. Chen was on call, but my mouth wouldn't work. My body was shutting down. They got me onto a gurney. I remember the ceiling tiles flying past. Fluorescent lights strobing. Faces hovering over me. Concerned. Frightened. Sarah was crying. Someone was cutting off my shirt. For lines piercing my arms. The cold rush of fluids. Someone shouting, BP's dropping. 80/40. Get him to CT now. But I knew there wasn't time. My vision started to tunnel. Gray creeping in from the edges. Sounds muffling. My heart, I could feel it struggling, fluttering like a dying bird in my chest. Irregular. Weak. Failing. And then, at 2:37 a.m. I know the exact time because I saw the clock on the wall later, frozen in my memory like a photograph. My heart stopped. I flatlined. The monitor, a Philips IntelliView MX800, the same model I'd watched 1,000 times while operating, showed a single flat green line. No heartbeat. No blood pressure. No oxygen saturation. Just that terrible, eternal beep. The sound every doctor dreads. Beep. I was dead. But here's the thing, the impossible, terrifying, beautiful thing, I was still aware. I didn't see darkness. I didn't feel nothing. I felt light. Weightless. Free. And then I realized, I'm floating. I looked down. And I saw my body. My body. Lying on that gurney. Gray. Lifeless. Mouth slack. Eyes half open and vacant. Dr. Richardson, I knew him. We'd scrubbed in together 100 times, was ripping open my hospital gown, placing defibrillator paddles on my chest. Someone else, Nurse Jennifer, I recognized her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun, was doing chest compressions. Hard. Fast. My body jerked with each compression, but I felt nothing. Because I wasn't in that body anymore. I was above it. Hovering near the ceiling. Watching them fight to save a life that had already left. Charging to 200. Dr. Richardson's voice. Urgent. Controlled panic. Clear. My body convulsed. Arched off the gurney. Slammed back down. Flat line. Again. 300. Clear. Another convulsion. Violent. My arms flopping like a rag doll. Still flat. I watched Dr. Richardson's face. I saw the fear in his eyes. He knew what I knew. Brain death begins after 4 minutes without oxygen. Irreversible damage after 6. I was a colleague. A friend. And I was slipping away. 360. This is the last one, Marcus. Come on, come on. Clear. The shock hit. My body lifted completely off the table this time. And then, nothing. Still flat. I heard someone whisper, time of death, 2:39 a.m. But I wasn't dead. Not really. I was more alive than I'd ever been. I could see everything. Not just the room, I could see 360 degrees. I could see through the walls. I could see Sarah in the hallway, sobbing into her phone, calling my ex-wife. I could see Dr. Chen running toward the trauma bay, still in his surgical cap. I could see a coffee stain on Jennifer's scrubs, green, shaped like a crescent moon that she'd gotten earlier that shift. I knew things I shouldn't know. And then I felt it. A pull. Not physical. Not a hand grabbing me. But a pull on my very essence. Like gravity, but vertical. Upward. Irresistible. Gentle but firm. And I heard a voice, not with my ears, because I didn't have ears anymore, but in my consciousness. Come. One word. But it carried weight. Authority. Love. Terror. I looked down one last time at my body. At the doctors stepping back, defeated. At the flat green line. At the man I used to be, lying cold and empty on a steel table. And then the pull became irresistible. I was moving fast, shooting upward through the ceiling, through the floors, through the roof, through the sky. And I saw it. The tunnel. And I knew my life on Earth was over. But my journey had just begun. The hospital fell away beneath me like a toy model shrinking into darkness. I could see the entire building, all 15 floors of Massachusetts General Hospital lit up against the Boston night sky. I could see the Charles River winding through the city like a black ribbon. I could see cars on Starro Drive, headlights piercing the 3 a.m. darkness, drivers who had no idea that Dr. Marcus Holloway had just died 300 feet above them. But I wasn't thinking about them. I was thinking, this is impossible. This violates everything. Consciousness requires a functioning brain. Neural activity. Synaptic connections. I have none of those things. My brain has been without oxygen for how long? 3 minutes? 4. I should be experiencing nothing. Nothing. Not this. Not this. But this was the most vivid, most real experience of my entire life. I could see in every direction simultaneously. Not just see, I could perceive. I knew things without looking. I knew that in room 412, a woman named Sandra was giving birth to twins. I knew that in the parking garage, a security guard named Luis was drinking cold coffee and thinking about his daughter's graduation. I knew that on the 5th floor, in the ICU, one of my patients, a 17-year-old boy named Kevin who I'd operated on for a subdural hematoma 2 days ago, was stable, recovering, going to live. How did I know these things? I had no eyes. No brain to process information. No neural pathways to interpret data. And yet I knew. I looked at my hands, or what should have been my hands. They were there, but not physical. Translucent. Glowing faintly. I could see through them like frosted glass. I touched my face. Felt the contours. But there was no flesh. No bone. Just essence. Form without matter. I'm a ghost, I thought. I'm actually a ghost. This is what it feels like to be dead. The thought should have terrified me. As an atheist, as a scientist, I'd always believed death was oblivion. Nothingness. The comforting void. But this was the opposite of nothing. This was everything. Too much. Overwhelming. And then I heard voices. Not audible voices. Not sound waves traveling through air to eardrums I no longer had. But voices in my consciousness. Clear. Distinct. Coming from below. Sarah's voice, God, please, please don't let him die. I know he doesn't believe in you, but please. My ex-wife Amanda's voice, on the phone in her apartment across town. What do you mean his heart stopped? What do you mean? Get him back. Do something. My daughter. My 17-year-old daughter Sophia, in her college dorm room at BU, waking up suddenly with a feeling she'd later describe as knowing something was wrong with Dad. She was reaching for her phone. About to see the missed calls. I wanted to scream, I'm here. I'm okay. But was I okay? I looked up. And that's when I saw it clearly for the first time. The tunnel. It wasn't a tunnel like a subway tunnel or a pipe. It wasn't made of matter. It was made of absence. A void in the fabric of reality. A passage between worlds. And it was pulling me. Not violently. Not like a vacuum or a vortex. But insistently. The way a river pulls a leaf downstream. Inevitable. Natural. The way things are supposed to go. And at the far end of the tunnel, so far away I shouldn't have been able to see it, but I could see it. I could see everything now. There was light. Not white light. Not the cliché you see in movies. This was different. This was light that had presence. Light that was alive. Light that knew me. Light that was calling my name without speaking. And I was terrified. Because I knew without being told, without reasoning through it, I just knew that once I entered that tunnel, there was no coming back. This was it. The final journey. The crossing over. And I knew what waited at the end. Judgment. No, I thought. No. I'm not ready. I don't believe. I don't believe in any of this. This isn't real. This is a hallucination. DMT released by a dying brain. Neurons misfiring. Oxygen deprivation causing. But even as I formed the thoughts, I knew they were lies. This was more real than anything I'd experienced in 46 years of physical life. This was baseline reality. Earth was the dream. This was waking up. The pull intensified. I looked down one more time. Through the roof of the hospital. Through the ceiling of Trauma Bay 2. And I saw something that broke my heart. My body was covered with a white sheet. They'd given up. Dr. Richardson was standing at the counter, filling out paperwork. Time of death, 2:39 a.m. Cause, ruptured cerebral aneurysm. He was writing my name. My date of birth. Checking boxes. Reducing my entire life to a form. Jennifer was crying silently, removing the 4 lines from my arms. And Sarah was standing in the corner, staring at my covered body, whispering, "You were supposed to be different. You were supposed to prove God was real, Marcus. You were supposed to see him and come back and tell everyone." That was the plan. That was always the plan. I hadn't known Sarah was a Christian. In all the years she'd worked as my assistant, she'd never mentioned it. Why would she? I would have mocked her. Made condescending comments about Bronze Age mythology and cognitive bias. I was that kind of atheist. The insufferable kind. And now I was dead. And she'd been praying for me all along. "I'm sorry," I thought. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. You were right. You were right. I was wrong about everything." But she couldn't hear me. The living can't hear the dead. I tried to resist the pull. Tried to will myself back down, back into my body. If I could just get back, just slip back inside that corpse, maybe I could restart my heart, jumpstart my brain, claw my way back to life. But my body was empty. Like a house with all the lights off and the doors locked. There was no one home. The person who'd lived there, Marcus Holloway, MD, PhD, chief of neurosurgery, atheist, divorced father, arrogant bastard, was gone. And I was being taken somewhere else. The tunnel opened wider. Surrounded me. Enveloped me. And suddenly I was moving through it, not walking, not flying, but moving. Being carried. Pulled forward by something I couldn't see but could feel. The darkness of the tunnel pressed in. But it wasn't evil darkness. It was transitional darkness. The darkness between one world and the next. Like closing your eyes before opening them in a new room. And then images started flashing around me. My life. Not chronologically. Not organized. Just moments. Scattered. Random. True. I saw myself at 8 years old, stealing money from my mother's purse. I saw myself at 16, mocking a classmate for going to church. I saw myself at 24, in medical school, sleeping with a woman whose name I never bothered to learn. I saw myself at 31, on my wedding day, promising to love Amanda forever, and I saw myself at 36, in a hotel room with a pharmaceutical rep, breaking that promise. I saw myself at 42, standing over a patient on the operating table, thinking about how brilliant I was, how irreplaceable, how godlike. I saw every cruel word. Every selfish act. Every moment of pride, lust, greed, anger. And the worst part? I saw the faces. The people I'd hurt. And I felt what they felt. Amanda's heartbreak when she found out about the affair. Sophia's confusion when I missed her 13th birthday because of an emergency surgery that was actually a golf trip. My mother's grief when I told her at age 19 that I'd never step foot in a church again and her faith was a delusion. I felt it all. And I realized, this is what hell is. Not fire. Not demons. This seeing who you really are and having to live with it forever. I wanted to scream. Wanted to beg for it to stop. Wanted to explain, justify, defend. But there was nothing to say. I was guilty. And I was heading toward the judge. The tunnel opened. And what I saw shattered everything I thought I knew about reality. The darkness of the tunnel gave way to something I can barely describe. Not light. Not yet. But the promise of light. Like the moment before dawn when the sky shifts from black to deep blue and you just know the sun is coming. But I wasn't ready for the sun. I was moving faster now. Not physically, there was no wind, no sense of velocity against skin I didn't have, but dimensionally. Spiritually. I was being pulled through layers of existence I'd never known were there. Like peeling away veils between worlds. And with each layer, the life review intensified. I saw myself at age 7, kneeling beside my bed while my mother taught me to pray. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. I saw her face so young, so hopeful, believing her son would grow up to love God. I saw the moment that hope died. I was 14, standing in our kitchen, shouting at her, "It's all fairy tales, Mom. Grow up. There is no God. There's no one listening to your pathetic prayers." I felt her heart break. And now, in this tunnel, I understood, every word we speak, every thought we think, every action we take, it all matters. It's all recorded. Not by some cosmic surveillance system, but recorded in the fabric of reality itself. Written into the souls of the people we touch. I saw myself in the OR, 7 years ago, standing over a 19-year-old girl named Emma who'd been in a car accident. Severe traumatic brain injury. Skull fracture. Massive hemorrhaging. Her parents had begged me to save her. And I'd tried. God knows I tried. 6 hours of surgery. But she died on my table. I'd walked out to the waiting room and told her parents, "I'm sorry. We did everything we could. Sometimes the damage is just too extensive. Sometimes there's nothing we can do." Professional. Clinical. Detached. But now, in this tunnel, I experienced that moment again from Emma's perspective. I felt her confusion as her brain shut down. Her fear as darkness closed in. Her desperate crying out for help, for God, for anyone. And I saw the moment she died. Not the medical moment. The flat line. The cessation of brain activity. I saw the real moment. The moment her soul left her body, exactly the way mine had just left mine. I saw her rise up above the operating table. Saw her look down at me, covered in her blood, shaking my head, peeling off my gloves. Saw her watch me walk away. And then I saw what happened next. She didn't go into a tunnel like I was going through. She went straight up. Into pure, brilliant, overwhelming light. And she was met by. I couldn't see clearly. The vision was fading, shifting. But I saw someone. Someone radiant. Someone who'd been waiting for her. Someone who wrapped her in arms that erased every ounce of pain, every moment of fear. And I heard a voice, not Emma's, but the voice of the one who held her, say, "Well done, my daughter. Well done. Welcome home." Emma hadn't just died. She'd graduated. She'd gone home. And I realized, with a shock that nearly tore me apart, all those years, all those patients I'd lost on the operating table, all the families I'd consoled with my atheistic platitudes about celebrating the life they lived and cherishing the memories, they hadn't just died. They'd gone somewhere. And I'd never told them the truth. Never prepared them. Never warned them. Because I didn't believe there was anywhere to go. The tunnel shifted again. Darker now. Colder. And I saw another patient. Marcus Delaney. 63 years old. Glioblastoma. I'd operated on him 4 years ago. Removed as much of the tumor as I could. Given him an extra 18 months. He'd been so grateful. Shook my hand with tears in his eyes. Thank you, doctor. Thank you for giving me more time with my grandchildren. He'd asked me once, in a follow-up appointment, do you believe in heaven, Dr. Holloway? Do you think I'll see my wife again when I die? And I'd smiled kindly, I thought at the time, and said, I believe you'll live on in the memories of everyone who loved you. That's the only immortality we get, Marcus. Make it count. He'd nodded. Looked disappointed. But accepted it. And now I saw the moment Marcus died. In a hospice bed, surrounded by his children. And I saw his soul leave his body, just like Emma's had. Just like mine had. But Marcus didn't go up. He went down. Not into fire. Not into cartoon hell. But into darkness. Isolation. Separation. I felt his confusion, his terror, his realization. I was supposed to believe. I was supposed to accept. But I listened to the doctors. I listened to the scientists. They told me there was nothing. And now, the vision cut off abruptly. I couldn't bear to see more. But I knew. I knew. I'd helped send Marcus Delaney to hell. Not intentionally. Not maliciously. But with my words, my authority, my confident atheism, I'd steered him away from the only hope he had. And he'd believed me. Because I was Dr. Marcus Holloway. Brain surgeon. Man of science. Expert on consciousness and death. And I'd been wrong. No, 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 and oh. I was screaming now, but no sound came out. I didn't know. I didn't know. If I'd known it was real, I would have told them. I would have. But the tunnel wasn't interested in my excuses. The life review continued. Relentless. Surgical. I saw every lie I told. Every person I'd manipulated. Every moment I'd chosen my own comfort over someone else's need. Every time I'd seen suffering and walked past because I was too busy, too important, too focused on my own career. And I saw the ripple effects. The way my coldness had frozen others. The way my arrogance had wounded. The way my atheism had infected my daughter, who'd stopped praying at age 12 because Dad says it's stupid. I saw Sophia, now 17, lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, feeling empty, feeling meaningless, feeling like life was just random chance and death was oblivion and nothing mattered. I'd given her that. My brilliant, beautiful daughter. I'd poisoned her with my unbelief. And the weight of it, the crushing, unbearable weight of seeing who I really was, nearly destroyed me. I wanted to cease to exist. Wanted to dissolve into nothing. Wanted the oblivion I'd always believed in. But there was no oblivion here. Only truth. And the truth was unbearable. The tunnel began to widen. The pull intensified. I was approaching something. Something massive. Something that had been waiting for me since before I was born. And I felt two things simultaneously. Absolute terror. And absolute inevitability. There was no escaping this. No bargaining. No rationalizing. No using my intelligence or my credentials or my charm to talk my way out. I was going to stand before the one I'd denied for 46 years. And he was going to look at me. And I was going to have to explain why I'd spent my entire life pretending he didn't exist. The tunnel exploded into light. Not gradual. Not gentle. Sudden. Blinding. All-consuming. And I fell not downward, but forward into a space that was both infinite and intimate. A place that existed outside of time but somehow contained all time. A place where past, present, and future were happening simultaneously. And I knew where I was. Not heaven. Not hell. But the place between. The place of encounter. The threshold. The place where every human soul comes, eventually, to meet their maker. My vision adjusted. Though I had no eyes, I could see. And what I saw made me want to worship and run at the same time. I was standing in an enormous space. Not a room. Not a landscape. Just space. Pure white. Infinite. Empty except for one thing. A figure. Far away. But also right in front of me. Distance didn't work here the way it did on Earth. The figure was humanoid. But radiant. Clothed in light so bright I shouldn't have been able to look at it, but I couldn't look away. And I knew who it was. Before he spoke. Before he moved. I knew. The knowledge was written into my DNA. Encoded in my soul. Recognition that predated my birth. Jesus. The name I'd mocked. The name I'd blasphemed. The name I'd used as a curse word 1,000 times. He was real. He was real. And he was walking toward me. Every step he took made the light intensify. Made the air, if it was air, vibrate with power. Made my soul feel like it was being turned inside out, every hidden thing exposed, every secret thought illuminated. I wanted to run. But there was nowhere to go. I wanted to hide. But there was nothing to hide behind. I wanted to defend myself. But I had no defense. So I did the only thing I could do. I collapsed. I fell to my knees, or whatever passed for knees in this form, and I wept. And he kept walking toward me. Closer. Closer. Until he was standing right in front of me. And then he spoke. And everything changed. I couldn't look up. Couldn't lift my head. The weight of his presence, it wasn't oppressive, but it was substantial. Like trying to stand upright at the bottom of the ocean. Like being a candle trying to hold its flame in front of the sun. But I could see his feet. Not metaphorical feet. Not symbolic feet. Real feet. Standing on ground that looked like crystallized light, solid but translucent, like glass made of condensed starlight. And I saw the scars. Right there. On the tops of his feet. Puncture wounds. Circular. Raised. Ancient but also fresh. As if they'd happened yesterday and 10,000 years ago simultaneously. Nail scars. The crucifixion scars. And something inside me, the last fortress of my rational, scientific mind, crumbled completely. Because this wasn't a vision. This wasn't a hallucination. This wasn't DMT or oxygen deprivation or neural misfiring. This was him. The Jesus my mother had prayed to. The Jesus I'd denied. The Jesus whose existence I'd argued against in college philosophy classes and hospital cafeterias and dinner parties with other smug intellectuals. He was real. And he was standing in front of me. Look at me, Marcus. His voice. How do I describe his voice? It was thunder that didn't frighten. Whisper that carried across galaxies. Authority that didn't crush. Love that didn't demand. It was the voice that spoke the universe into existence. The voice that calmed storms and raised the dead and will one day shake the heavens. And it knew my name. Marcus. Look at me. It wasn't a command. It was an invitation. But I couldn't refuse it. I lifted my head. And I saw his face. I've spent 20 years staring at the human brain. I've studied consciousness. I've mapped neural pathways. I've seen images of every brain structure. And I'm telling you, the human brain is not designed to process what I saw. His face was human. Distinctly, recognizably human. But it was also more. Like looking at the blueprint and the building at the same time. Like seeing the prototype of humanity, what we were always meant to be before we fell. His skin, not pale European Jesus from Renaissance paintings. Not any specific ethnicity. But somehow universal. Ancient. Timeless. The kind of face that could walk through any era, any culture, and be recognized as one of them. But his eyes. Oh God. His eyes. They were dark, deep brown, almost black. But they held light. Not reflected light. Generated light. Light that came from within. And when I looked into them, I saw everything. I saw galaxies forming. Stars exploding. Planets spinning. Life beginning. I saw myself being knit together in my mother's womb. Every cell. Every synapse. Every thought I would ever think, he'd already known. I saw my entire life, not as I'd experienced it, but as he'd experienced it. Every moment he'd been there. Watching. Waiting. Calling. Hoping I'd turn around and see him. I saw myself at age 9, sitting in church beside my mother, feeling something stir in my chest, a longing, a recognition, and I saw him there, reaching for me, whispering, "I'm here, Marcus. I've always been here." But I'd turned away. Distracted by a video game I wanted to get home and play. I saw myself at 21, drunk at a college party, feeling empty despite the noise in the crowd, and I saw him standing in the corner of that room, invisible to everyone else, waiting for me to cry out for something real. But I'd gone home with a girl I didn't love instead. I saw myself at 38, standing in the hospital chapel after losing Emma on the operating table, staring at the cross on the wall, feeling something crack inside me, a moment where I could have broken, could have cried out, could have asked if anyone was listening. And I saw him there, right behind me, arms outstretched, ready to catch me. But I'd walked out. Told myself it was just emotional exhaustion. Went home and poured myself a scotch. Every moment. Every chance. Every time he'd knocked and I'd refused to open the door. And in his eyes, I saw. Not anger. Not condemnation. But grief. He was grieving. For me. Over me. Like a father watching his son choose poison over bread, destruction over life, darkness over light, and being powerless to force the choice but powerful enough to bear the consequences. Do you understand where you are, Marcus? His voice again. Gentle. Patient. I tried to speak. No sound came out. I had no vocal cords. But somehow, he heard my thoughts. Am I in hell? Because this couldn't be heaven. Not for me. Not for someone who'd spent 46 years denying him, mocking him, leading others away from him. Something that might have been a sad smile crossed his face. You're in the place of decision, he said. The threshold. Every soul comes here. Every human being who has ever lived stands where you're standing now. And I ask them the same question I'm about to ask you. He knelt down. Let me repeat that. The King of the universe. The Creator of everything. the one before whom angels cover their faces and cry, "Holy, holy, holy." He knelt down, until his face was level with mine, until I could see every detail, the compassion in his eyes, the scars on his hands as he placed them on his knees, the way his presence radiated both infinite power and infinite tenderness. "Marcus," he said quietly, "what do you want?" The question broke me, because I knew what he was asking. Not what do I want for breakfast, not what do I want to accomplish, but what do you want for eternity? Do you want me? Or do you want yourself? Do you want to surrender? Or do you want to remain your own God? And I realized this was it. This was the choice every human makes. Not at death, necessarily, but throughout life. Every day. Every moment. Choose him. Or choose self. And I had chosen self. For 46 years. And even now, even here, standing before him with every excuse stripped away, I could still choose self. I could still say, "I don't want you. I want to be my own master. I'll take hell over heaven if heaven means submitting to you." That's how much he respects human free will. He won't force us, won't override our choice, won't drag us into his presence if we don't want to be there. Because love, real love, must be freely given. And suddenly I understood hell. Really understood it. Hell isn't a torture chamber God throws people into. Hell is the place where people who reject God get their wish: eternity without him. Eternity with only themselves. With their own pride, their own ego, their own self-worship. And that is agony. Because we were made for him. Created for communion with him. And to be separated from him forever, it's like a fish choosing to live on land. A plant choosing darkness over sun. It goes against our very design. I looked at Jesus, really looked at him, and I saw what I'd been running from my whole life. Perfect love. Not sentimental love. Not weakness disguised as kindness. But fierce love. Consuming love. Love that would die for me. Love that had died for me. And I saw his hands again. The scars in his palms. And I understood. Those scars were for me. Not for humanity in the abstract. For Marcus Holloway specifically. If I had been the only person who ever lived, he still would have gone to that cross. Still would have let them drive nails through his hands. Still would have hung there, bleeding, suffocating, dying. For me. Because he loved me that much. Even though he knew I'd deny him. Knew I'd mock him. Knew I'd lead others away from him. He went to that cross anyway. And now, here, in this place, he was still offering me the choice. What do you want, Marcus? I broke. Completely. Utterly. Shattered. And for the first time in my adult life, I prayed. Not the memorized prayer from childhood. Not the sophisticated theological argument. Just 3 words. Gasped out. Desperate. True. I want you. And the moment I said it, everything changed. The white space around us exploded with color. Not earthly colors. Not red or blue or yellow. But colors that don't exist in the visible spectrum. Colors I don't have names for. Colors that had sound. Had emotion. Had life. The ground beneath me, that crystallized light, began to ripple, to spread, to transform into something that looked like grass but was softer than anything I'd ever felt. Each blade shimmered with its own light. Moved with its own consciousness. Worshipped with its own voice. And suddenly I could hear it. The grass was singing. Not metaphorically. literally singing, harmonies that wove together into a melody so beautiful it hurt. But it was a good hurt. The hurt of something frozen finally thawing, something broken finally mending. And I realized, all of creation is alive. All of it conscious. All of it praising. We just can't hear it on earth because sin has deafened us. But here, Jesus stood, extended his hand to me. And when I took it, when my translucent, essence-form hand touched his nail-scarred palm, light, blinding, overwhelming, consuming, but not destroying, transforming. I felt it pouring into me, through me, burning away everything that wasn't true, every lie I'd believed, every false identity I'd constructed, every wall I'd built around my heart. The atheism burned away like paper and fire. The pride dissolved like salt and water. The bitterness toward God for not proving himself to me shattered like glass against stone. And in their place, love, pure, unconditional, eternal, love that had always been there, always been offered, always been waiting for me to stop running and turn around. Jesus pulled me to my feet and smiled. And that smile, it was sunrise after the longest night. It was spring after endless winter. It was finding something you didn't know you'd lost. It was coming home after a lifetime of wandering. "Welcome," he said. "Welcome home, Marcus." And then he turned, gestured to something behind him that I hadn't noticed because I'd been so focused on him. And I saw it. Heaven. Not clouds and harps. Not the cartoon version from Sunday school flannel boards. But heaven. A city. Massive. Glittering. Built from materials that shouldn't exist, walls that looked like jasper but were alive, gates that looked like pearls but sang, streets that looked like gold but were transparent, showing layers and layers of reality beneath. And beyond the city, mountains. Crystal clear rivers. Gardens that stretched to infinity. Colors that shifted and breathed. Trees bearing fruit that glowed with their own light. And beings. Thousands of them. Millions. More. Some were human or had been human. I could tell by their forms, though they were perfected, glorified, radiant. Others were not human. Angels. Massive. Terrible. Beautiful. With wings that weren't decorative but functional, covered with eyes that saw everything, flames that burned with holiness. And they were all doing the same thing. Worshipping. Not in the boring, repetitive way I'd imagined. Not standing in rows singing the same hymn forever. But creating. Dancing. Laughing. Building. Exploring. Learning. Loving. And every action was an act of worship. Because everything was done for him, with him, through him. This was what humans were created for. This was the life we'd lost in Eden. And Jesus was offering it back to me. "You can stay," he said softly. "You can stay here with me now." Or. He paused. And in his eyes, I saw something I didn't expect. A question. A request. "Or I can send you back," he continued. "Back to your body. Back to earth. Back to the pain and the brokenness and the death. But if I send you back, Marcus, you go back with a mission. You go back to tell them. Tell them I'm real. Tell them heaven is real. Tell them hell is real. Tell them they have a choice. Tell them." His voice caught. Emotion, Jesus showing emotion, broke through. "Tell them I love them. Tell them I'm waiting. Tell them there's still time. But not much. He gripped my shoulders. His eyes locked onto mine. Will you go back for me, Marcus? Will you be my witness? And I understood. This was why I died. Why I'd been brought here. Not for my own salvation, though that was part of it. But for them. For the people still alive. Still breathing. Still choosing. Still able to change their minds. The patients I told there was no afterlife. The colleagues I'd mocked for believing in God. My daughter who'd stopped praying because of me. They needed to know. And I was being given the chance to tell them. I looked at heaven one more time. At the glory. The beauty. The absolute perfection of it. And then I looked back at Jesus. And I said the hardest words I've ever spoken. I'll go back. Send me back. I'll tell them. His smile nearly broke me all over again. I knew you would, he whispered. I knew you would. And then he placed his hand on my chest right where my heart would have been. And he pushed. Not hard. Not violent. But with purpose. And I felt myself falling backward. Away from him. Away from heaven. Away from the light and the colors and the worship. Back into the tunnel. But this time, the tunnel was loud. Voices. Beeping. Shouting. And light. Harsh fluorescent light. And pain. Oh God, the pain. My chest was on fire. My head was splitting. My lungs were screaming. And I heard a voice, Dr. Richardson's voice, shouting. I've got a pulse. I've got a pulse. He's back. Marcus is back. And then everything went white. And then I opened my eyes. And I was alive. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Because what I just described, the moment Jesus sent me back, that wasn't the end of my time with him. There was more. So much more. Before he pushed me back into my body, before I returned to the pain and the fluorescent lights and the beeping monitors, he showed me something. Something I need you to understand. Something that changed everything. Before you go back, Jesus said, his hands still resting on my chest, there's something you need to see. Something that will help you understand. Something that will give you the words to tell them. And suddenly we were moving, not walking, but traveling. Through space and time simultaneously. The white space around us shifted, rippled, became something else. We were standing in an operating room. Not Mass General. Somewhere else. Smaller hospital. Older equipment. But I recognized it immediately as an OR because I'd spent 10,000 hours in rooms just like it. And I saw myself. Not my current self. A younger me. 34 years old. Standing over an operating table. Patient draped. Skull open. Brain exposed. I was holding a scalpel, working carefully around the motor cortex, removing a tumor the size of a walnut. Do you remember this? Jesus asked quietly. I did. I remembered. It was one of my first successful glioma resections. The patient, her name was Catherine Morris. 52 years old. Mother of 3. She'd been having seizures, losing function on her right side. The tumor was aggressive. Grade 4 glioblastoma. But I'd gotten it all. Clean margins. She'd recovered beautifully. Lived another 4 years before it came back. Watch, Jesus said. And the scene shifted. Fast-forwarded. I saw Catherine in recovery. Saw her family visit. Saw her go home. Saw her at her daughter's wedding. Saw her hold her first grandchild. And then I saw her in hospice. For years later. The tumor had returned. Inoperable this time. She had weeks, maybe days. I watched her die. Watched her take her last breath, surrounded by her family. Watched her husband hold her hand and sob. Watched her daughter whisper, "I love you, Mom. I love you so much." And then I watched Catherine's soul leave her body. Just like mine had. Just like Emma's had. She rose up. Looked down at her body. Looked at her weeping family. And then she looked up. And the ceiling dissolved. The hospice room dissolved. And she was soaring. Up through layers of reality. Through the tunnel. Toward the light. And she arrived right where I'd been standing moments ago. In that white space. That threshold. And Jesus was there. Waiting for her. She saw him and screamed, but not in fear. In joy. In recognition. In absolute, overwhelming, explosive joy. "Jesus," she cried. "Jesus, you're here. You're really here." And she ran to him. Threw her arms around him. And he held her. Laughed with her. Wept with her. "Welcome home, Catherine," he said. "Well done, my faithful daughter. Well done." And then he led her past the threshold. Into heaven. Into that glittering city. And I watched her reunite with her mother, who died when Catherine was 16. Watched them embrace, both of them young now, glorified, perfect. Watched Catherine dance, actually dance, down those golden streets, laughing like a child, free from pain, free from fear, free from death. And I heard her voice echoing back, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you." The scene faded. Jesus and I were alone again in that white space. I was weeping. "She was one of yours," Jesus said gently. "One of your patients. You gave her 4 more years with her family. 4 years to love her husband. To see her daughter married. To hold her grandchild. And in those 4 years, Marcus, she prayed for you. Every single day. She prayed that you would come to know me. That you would surrender your pride and see the truth." I couldn't speak. The weight of it, the knowledge that Catherine Morris, a woman I'd operated on and then never thought about again, had spent her final years praying for my soul, crushed me. "She's not the only one," Jesus continued. "Watch." The scene shifted again. Another operating room. Another patient. This time a 10-year-old boy named Daniel. Brain tumor pressing on his optic nerve. I'd removed it. He'd kept his vision. Gone on to live a full life. And I watched Daniel grow up. Watched him become a youth pastor. Watched him tell his testimony, how God had guided the surgeon's hands, how he'd been healed. Watched him lead hundreds of teenagers to faith in Jesus. And every single one of them, every kid Daniel led to Christ, I saw their faces. Their names. Their futures. Sarah. Michael. Destiny. Jamal. Emma. Christopher. Hundreds of them. All because I'd successfully removed a tumor from a 10-year-old's brain 30 years ago. "You didn't save Daniel's life," Jesus said. "I did. Through you. Through your hands, your skill, your knowledge. I used you, Marcus. Even when you didn't believe in me. Even when you denied me. I still used you to accomplish my purposes." Another scene. Another patient. 67-year-old man named Robert. Subdural hematoma. Emergency surgery. I drilled burr holes, evacuated the blood, saved his life. Robert recovered. Went home. And 6 months later, he was driving down a country road when he saw a car that had driven into a ditch. He stopped. Pulled the driver out. A 17-year-old girl. Unconscious. Not breathing. Robert performed CPR. Brought her back. Saved her life. That girl, her name was Anna, went on to become a missionary doctor in Uganda. Over her 40-year career, she treated over 10,000 patients. Led hundreds to Christ. Started clinics. Trained local doctors. All because Robert had been alive to pull her out of that ditch. All because I'd saved Robert's life. Do you see it now? Jesus asked. Do you see how it all connects? Every life you saved, Marcus, I had a purpose for them. Plans. Destinies. Ripple effects that spread across decades, across continents, across eternity. I fell to my knees again. Because I saw it. I saw it. The web of interconnection. The way every action, every surgery, every decision, every moment rippled outward in ways I could never have imagined. I'd thought I was just a surgeon. Just doing my job. Just fixing brains. But I'd been part of God's plan all along. Even as an atheist. Even as a mocker. Even as someone who denied his existence. He'd still used me. Because he's that sovereign. That powerful. That good. But Marcus, Jesus said, and his tone shifted. Became heavier. Sadder. There's something else you need to see. The other side. And I knew what was coming. Before the scene shifted, I knew. The scene changed. Another operating room. Another patient. Marcus Delaney. The 63-year-old with glioblastoma. The man who'd asked me if I believed in heaven. I watched myself stand beside his bed. Watched myself give my smug, atheistic answer, I believe you'll live on in the memories of everyone who loved you. That's the only immortality we get, Marcus. Make it count. I watched the hope drain from Marcus Delaney's face. Watched him nod. Accept it. Walk away believing that death was the end. And then I watched him die. 18 months later. In hospice. Surrounded by family. And I watched his soul leave his body. But he didn't go up. He went down. Not into fire. Not into lakes of burning sulfur. But into darkness. Absolute. Suffocating. Isolating. And I heard him crying out, "Is anyone there? Anyone? Please. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should have believed. Dr. Holloway said there was nothing but he was wrong. Please. Please." But there was no one to answer. Because he'd made his choice. He'd rejected Jesus. He'd accepted my words over God's truth. And now. Stop, I begged Jesus. Please. I can't watch this. The scene froze. Jesus turned to me. And I saw tears on his face. Jesus was weeping. I wept for Marcus too, he said quietly. I wept when he rejected me. I wept when he chose your wisdom over mine. I wept when he died. And I weep still. Because I loved him, Marcus. I loved him. I died for him. I waited for him. I called to him through his wife's prayers, through his grandson's simple faith, through the sunrise he watched from his porch every morning. I was always there. But he chose to listen to you instead. The weight of it nearly killed me all over again. I had blood on my hands. Not from failed surgeries. Not from medical mistakes. But from souls. From people who'd trusted my authority, my credentials, my confidence, and followed me straight into hell. How many? I whispered. How many people did I? Don't ask that question, Jesus interrupted. You don't want to know the number. And it doesn't matter now. What matters is what you do next. You're going back, Marcus. And when you go back, you will tell them the truth. Not your truth. Not scientific materialism. Not comfortable lies. But the truth. That I am real. That heaven is real. That hell is real. That every choice matters. That eternity is long and life is short, and now is the time to choose. He gripped my shoulders again. His eyes, those galaxies, those infinite depths, locked onto mine. You will face opposition, he said. Your colleagues will mock you. They'll say you had a hallucination. Oxygen deprivation. Neural misfiring. They'll try to explain away everything you experienced. And your pride, oh, Marcus, your pride will scream at you to stay silent, to not embarrass yourself, to protect your reputation. He leaned closer. But you will speak anyway. Because you've seen. You've seen me. You've seen heaven. You've seen hell. You've seen the truth. And once you've seen it, you can never unsee it. So you will tell them. In hospitals. In conferences. In interviews. On platforms. Wherever I send you. You will open your mouth and you will testify. Do you understand? Yes, I whispered. Yes, Lord. I'll tell them. I'll tell everyone. Good. He smiled. That sunrise smile. That coming home smile. Because they need to hear it. So many of them are standing on the edge, Marcus. So many are one conversation away from surrender. One testimony away from belief. One story away from falling into my arms. And you're going to be that story. That testimony. That conversation. He pulled me into an embrace. And in that moment, being held by Jesus, feeling his arms around me, feeling his heartbeat against my chest, I experienced something that I can only describe as completion. Like every broken piece of me suddenly fit together. Like every question I'd ever had was answered. Like every longing I'd ever felt was satisfied. This was what I'd been searching for my whole life. Not success. Not respect. Not knowledge. Not pleasure. This. Him. This embrace. This love. This acceptance. I love you, Marcus, he whispered. I have always loved you. From before the foundation of the world, I loved you. I knew you would deny me. I knew you would run from me. I knew you would mock my name. And I went to that cross anyway. Because you were worth it. You were worth it. And I would do it again. 1,000 times. 1,000,000 times. That's how much you matter to me. I couldn't stop weeping. Couldn't stop clinging to him. Couldn't stop whispering, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now go, he said, gently pulling back. Go back to your body. Go back to your life. Go back to your daughter. Tell Sophia I love her. Tell her I've been waiting for her to talk to me again. Tell her it's not too late. Tell Sarah her prayers were heard. Tell Amanda I forgive her too, yes, even Amanda. Tell them all. He placed his hand on my chest again. And Marcus? When they ask you what heaven is like, tell them this, Heaven is not a place. Heaven is a person. Heaven is wherever I am. And I am inviting them home. And then he pushed. And I fell. Backward. Through the tunnel. Through layers of reality. Through time and space. Back into the cold. Back into the pain. Back into the weight of flesh and bone and blood. And I heard voices. Shouting. Urgent. Clear. Shock. Electricity slamming into my chest. And my heart stuttered. Caught. Beat. Once. Twice. 3 times. And the monitor began to beep again. Not flatline. But rhythm. Life. I've got a pulse. I've got a pulse. He's back. Marcus is back. And I opened my eyes. And the first face I saw was Dr. Richardson, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. "Welcome back," he breathed. "We thought we'd lost you. You were gone for 23 minutes, Marcus. 23 minutes. That's not possible. You should be brain dead. But you're awake. I grabbed his wrist. My voice came out in a rasp, broken from the intubation tube they'd removed. I saw him. Dr. Richardson blinked. "Saw who?" "Jesus," I whispered. "I saw Jesus. And he's real, David. He's real. And he told me to come back. To tell you. To tell everyone." Dr. Richardson stared at me. Then looked at the other doctors. Then back at me. "You need to rest," he said carefully. "You've been through severe trauma. Your brain—" "My brain is fine," I interrupted. "Better than fine. And I can prove it. There's a green coffee stain on Jennifer's scrubs. Shaped like a crescent moon. On the left side, near her hip. And Dr. Chen, you were in the hallway during my code. You were on the phone with your wife. Telling her you'd be late. That you had an emergency. And there's a crack in the ceiling tile above this bed. 3rd tile from the left. Shaped like a lightning bolt." I watched their faces pale. Because I was right. About all of it. Things I couldn't have known. Couldn't have seen. Unless I'd been watching from the ceiling. Unless I'd been out of my body. Unless I'd been dead. And come back. "I saw him," I said again, louder this time. "I saw Jesus. And he sent me back. To tell you. To tell all of you. He's real. Heaven is real. Hell is real. And you have to choose." I looked around at their shocked faces. At Sarah, standing in the corner, tears streaming down her cheeks. At Jennifer, looking down at the coffee stain on her scrubs with wide eyes. At Dr. Richardson, struggling to reconcile what I was saying with his own atheistic worldview. And I knew. This was my mission. This was why I came back. To tell them. To tell you. Jesus is real. And he's waiting. The first sensation was pain. Not the transcendent pain of standing before Jesus, that was pain that purified, that revealed truth. This was different. This was physical pain. Raw. Screaming. Every nerve ending in my body firing at once. My chest felt like someone had parked a truck on it. Later I'd learned they'd done CPR for 23 minutes straight. Cracked 3 of my ribs. But in that moment, all I knew was agony. My head was splitting. The aneurysm had ruptured in my brain's anterior communicating artery. The pressure. The blood. The damage. By every medical standard, I should have been a vegetable. Should have had massive cognitive deficits. Couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Couldn't remember my own name. But I could do all of those things. Get me a neuro exam. Dr. Richardson was shouting. Now! And somebody page Dr. Chen, tell him Marcus is awake and we need a stat CT. Hands were touching me. Checking my pupils. Testing my reflexes. Asking me questions. Marcus, can you hear me? Squeeze my hand. Good. Good. Now tell me, do you know where you are? Mass General, I rasped. My throat was on fire from the intubation tube. Trauma Bay 2. You're David Richardson. You injected epinephrine directly into my chest. You shocked me 3 times. 200 joules. Then 300. Then 360. I flatlined at 2:37 a.m. You pronounced me dead at 2:39. Dead silence. Not just from Dr. Richardson. From everyone in the room. 6 doctors. 4 nurses. 2 residents. All of them staring at me like I'd just spoken in tongues. How Dr. Richardson started. How do you know all that? You were clinically dead. No brain activity. No consciousness. You couldn't have. I was watching, I interrupted. From above. From the ceiling. I saw everything. Dr. Richardson's face, I'd known him for 12 years, operated alongside him hundreds of times, went completely white. That's impossible, he whispered. That's medically impossible. So isn't he being conscious right now? I shot back. 23 minutes without oxygen. My brain should be Swiss cheese. But I can tell you that crack in the ceiling tile, I pointed upward, is shaped like a lightning bolt. And Jennifer, I turned to look at Nurse Jennifer Chen, who was standing frozen by the monitors, has a green coffee stain on her scrubs. Left side. Near her hip. Crescent moon shape. Jennifer looked down slowly. Saw the stain. Her hand flew to her mouth. I spilled coffee 2 hours ago, she breathed. In the break room. You were already in surgery when that happened. You couldn't have. I wasn't in surgery, I said. I was dying. And then I was dead. And then I was somewhere else. With someone else. Sarah pushed through the crowd of medical staff. Her face was streaked with tears and mascara. She grabbed my hand, the one without the 4, and squeezed it so hard it hurt. You saw him, she whispered. Not a question. A statement. You saw Jesus. Didn't you? And something inside me, the last fragment of my old self, the prestigious neurosurgeon who would have laughed at such a question, finally died. Yes, I said, looking directly at her. I saw him, Sarah. I saw Jesus. And you were right. About everything. He's real. Heaven is real. And he told me, my voice broke, he told me that you've been praying for me. For years. That you never gave up. Even when I mocked you. Even when I was insufferable. You kept praying. Sarah collapsed against the side of the bed, sobbing. I knew, she gasped. I knew he would reach you. I knew he wouldn't let you go. I've been praying since the day I started working for you. Every single day. I asked God to do whatever it took to open your eyes. And he let you die so you could finally see him. Sarah, stop. Dr. Richardson put a hand on her shoulder. Gentle but firm. Marcus has been through severe trauma. He needs rest. We all need to give him space. No. My voice came out stronger than I expected. commanding. The voice I'd used 1,000 times in the OR when I needed everyone to listen. No. You need to hear this. All of you. I tried to sit up. Pain lanced through my chest. Multiple hands pushed me back down. Marcus, you have 3 broken ribs and a ruptured cerebral aneurysm. You need to stay still. I have a mission, I said, looking around at every face. Jesus sent me back. He could have kept me there. I was in heaven, actual heaven. And he gave me a choice. Stay or return. And I chose to come back because he asked me to. He said you need to hear the truth. Dr. Richardson exchanged glances with the other doctors. I could see it in their faces. The clinical assessment. The diagnosis they were all thinking but not saying. Hypoxic brain injury. Hallucinations. Confabulation. Neural damage presenting as religious delusion. I know what you're thinking, I said. I know because I would have thought the same thing. If one of my patients had woken up from a code talking about seeing Jesus, I would have ordered a psych consult and increased their sedation. I would have chalked it up to oxygen deprivation, DMT release, temporal lobe seizure activity. I would have explained it away. I locked eyes with Dr. Richardson. But David, you can't explain away the things I know. The things I saw while I was dead. I watched you from the ceiling. I saw you inject the AP. I saw you wipe sweat from your forehead with your left hand. I saw the moment you looked at the clock and decided it was over. I saw the defeat in your face when you thought you'd lost me. Dr. Richardson's jaw clenched. That's not. I saw Dr. Chen in the hallway, I continued. He was on his phone with his wife, Emily, telling her he'd be late for their daughter's recital. I heard him say, "I'm sorry, Em. I know I promised. But Marcus is coding and I need to," and then he hung up and ran toward this room. I turned to look at Dr. Andrew Chen, who had just entered the trauma bay. The color drained from his face. "My daughter's recital," he whispered. "It was tonight. I missed it." I called Emily from the hallway. "But you were, how could you?" "Because I wasn't in my body," I said. "I was out of it. Watching. Aware. And then I went somewhere else. Somewhere more real than this." The monitors were beeping steadily. My heart rate was elevated but stable. Blood pressure normalizing. By every measurable standard, I was recovering impossibly well. "Run the tests," I said. CT scan. MRI. Cognitive assessment. Run all of them. And when they come back showing I have 0 brain damage, when they show that a man who was clinically dead for 23 minutes somehow has perfect neurological function, then maybe you'll start to consider that something miraculous happened here. Or, Dr. Richardson said carefully, it will show that you're an outlier. A statistical anomaly. The human brain is more resilient than we sometimes think. There are documented cases of. Don't, I interrupted. Don't do what I did for 20 years. Don't explain away the miracle so you don't have to deal with the implications. Because the implications are terrifying, David. I know. I lived them. I took a shuddering breath. The pain in my chest was subsiding slightly. Or maybe I was just getting used to it. If what I'm saying is true, if I really did die and meet Jesus and come back, then that means everything we believe about consciousness is wrong. Everything we believe about death is wrong. It means there is something after this. Someone waiting. Judgment coming. And David, I grabbed his hand, you're not ready. None of you are ready. And Jesus told me to tell you. To warn you. Because he loves you. He loves you. And he doesn't want you to spend eternity separated from him. The trauma bay had gone completely silent. Even the usual hospital sounds, the beeping monitors, the distant overhead pages, the hum of equipment seemed muted. Like the whole universe was holding its breath. Sarah was still crying, but now she was smiling, laughing through her tears. Jennifer was staring at the coffee stain on her scrubs, touching it like it was evidence of something impossible. Dr. Chen was leaning against the wall, his expression unreadable. And Dr. Richardson, my friend, my colleague, my fellow atheist for over a decade, looked like his entire worldview was cracking. He started. Stopped. Tried again. Marcus, I want to believe you. I do. But this goes against everything we know. Everything we've studied. The brain doesn't function without oxygen. Consciousness doesn't exist independent of neural activity. What you're describing is impossible, I finished. I know. But David, I performed over 3,000 neurosurgeries. I've spent 20 years studying the brain. And I'm telling you, we've been wrong. The brain doesn't create consciousness. It receives it. Like a radio receiving a signal. And when the radio breaks, the signal doesn't disappear. It goes somewhere else. I could see him struggling. Wrestling. The scientist in him fighting against the evidence standing right in front of him. Run the tests, I said again. And then we'll talk. But David, don't wait too long. Because none of us knows how much time we have. I thought I had decades. I was 46. Healthy. In peak physical condition. And I died in my office on a random Tuesday at 2:37 a.m. Death doesn't make appointments. It doesn't wait for convenient timing. It comes. And when it comes, you'll stand where I stood. And Jesus will ask you the same question he asked me. What do you want? And whatever you answer, that's what you'll get for eternity. The door burst open. A crash cart team. Someone had called the code response team, not realizing I was already awake. Cancel the code. Dr. Richardson called out. Patient is conscious and stable. We need transport to CT instead. The team stopped, staring at me in confusion. One of the residents, young woman, maybe 26, whispered, "He's awake?" After 23 minutes? 23 minutes, I confirmed, looking at her. I was gone for 23 minutes. And in those 23 minutes, I lived more than I did in 46 years. I met Jesus. I saw heaven. And he sent me back to tell you. I raised my voice so everyone in the room could hear, that he is real. That your life has purpose. That death is not the end. That you were created for eternity. And that you get to choose where you spend it. I saw it then. On several faces. Not conviction. Not yet. But something else. Curiosity. Wonder. The first crack in the armor of certainty. And I knew Jesus was right. Some of them were standing on the edge. One testimony away from belief. This was just the beginning. They wheeled me to CT. The scan took 20 minutes. When the images came back, the radiologist called Dr. Richardson personally. I heard him through the door. David, I don't know how to explain this. The aneurysm is still there. I can see where it ruptured. There should be massive hemorrhaging. Brain tissue damage. Edema. Herniation. But there's almost nothing. Minimal blood. No significant swelling. It's like his brain healed itself. In less than an hour. That's not possible. But it was possible. Because Jesus had touched me. And when Jesus touches you, everything changes. They admitted me to the ICU, kept me for observation. Every doctor who examined me left shaking their head. The neurology team, the critical care team, the cardiology team, all the same conclusion: we can't explain this. By every measure, you should be dead or vegetative. But you're fine. Better than fine. It's unprecedented. And I told them, every single one of them, it's not unprecedented. It's a miracle. And the one who performed it wants you to know that he's real. And he's waiting for you to call his name. Some walked away, embarrassed, uncomfortable. But some stayed, asked questions, listened. And on my third day in the ICU, Dr. Richardson came into my room. Alone. He closed the door behind him, pulled a chair up beside my bed, and said 5 words I never thought I'd hear from him. Tell me about Jesus, please. And I did. I told him everything. And when I finished, when I described the nail-scarred hands and the eyes that held galaxies and the love that shattered me, Dr. David Richardson, atheist neurosurgeon, chief of critical care medicine, winner of multiple research awards, bowed his head and prayed, Jesus, I don't know if you're real, but Marcus says you are. And I've seen what happened to him. And I want to know you. If you're there. If you're listening. I'm here. I'm listening back. It wasn't an eloquent prayer. It wasn't theological. It wasn't polished. But it was real. And I watched with eyes that had seen heaven as something shifted in that room. As the presence of Jesus filled the space. As David's face changed. Softened. Broke. And he started to cry. He's here, David whispered. Oh God, he's here. I can feel him. How is he? Because he loves you, I said. He's always loved you. He's been waiting for you to stop running. To stop hiding behind science and skepticism. To just look at him. And now you're looking. And he's looking back. David wept for 10 minutes. I didn't say anything. Just let Jesus do his work. When he finally lifted his head, his eyes were different. Clearer. Awake. I believe, he said. I don't understand how or why. But I believe. He's real. Jesus is real. Yes, I said. He is. And that was the first one. The first person who came to Jesus because of my testimony. But he wouldn't be the last. Not even close. I was discharged from Mass General 7 days after I died. 7 days. That's all it took for my body to heal from an injury that should have killed me or left me permanently disabled. The aneurysm, still visible on imaging, had somehow stabilized. Sealed itself. The neurologists had no explanation. They documented it as spontaneous thrombosis with miraculous recovery and sent copies of my scans to medical journals. I became a case study. An anomaly. A medical mystery. But I knew the truth. I knew exactly what had happened. Jesus had healed me. Sent me back with a mission. And now I had to fulfill it. The first person I went to see was Sophia. My daughter. My brilliant, beautiful 17-year-old daughter who I'd poisoned with my atheism. Who'd stopped praying at age 12 because I'd told her it was talking to an imaginary friend. Who'd grown up believing life was meaningless, death was oblivion, and nothing really mattered in the end. I drove to her dorm at Boston University. She met me in the lobby, her face a mixture of relief and confusion. She'd visited me once in the hospital, sat by my bed for 20 minutes in awkward silence, then left. We hadn't spoken since. "Dad," she said carefully, "are you okay? Should you even be driving?" "I'm better than okay," I said. "Sophia, we need to talk. Really talk. Can we go somewhere?" We ended up in a coffee shop near campus. She ordered a latte. I ordered nothing, my stomach was still adjusting to solid food. We sat by the window, afternoon sun streaming in, and I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in years. She was beautiful. She had her mother's eyes. My stubbornness. And a deep, aching emptiness that I recognized because I'd carried it for 46 years. The emptiness that comes from living without God. "Sophia," I started, "I need to tell you something. And I need you to listen with an open mind. Can you do that?" She shrugged. Guarded. "Sure, Dad. When I died—" "You didn't die," she interrupted. "Your heart stopped. It's different." "No," I said firmly. "I died. Clinically dead for 23 minutes. And Sophia, I went somewhere. I left my body. I saw things I couldn't have seen. I took a breath, to heaven. And I met Jesus." I watched her face. Watched the skepticism bloom. The same skepticism I taught her. "Dad, you had a brain injury. You were oxygen deprived. Your brain was creating hallucinations to cope with trauma. There are documented cases of—" "I know all the explanations," I cut her off. "I created those explanations. I've used them 100 times to dismiss patients' near-death experiences. But Sophia, I was wrong. We were wrong. There is something after this. Someone waiting. And I need you to know Jesus is real. He's real and he loves you and he's been waiting for you to talk to him again." Tears sprang to her eyes. "Don't do this." "Do what?" Don't become one of them. One of those delusional religious people you used to make fun of. You're a scientist, Dad. You're supposed to be rational. You're supposed to." "I'm supposed to tell you the truth," I said, reaching across the table to take her hand. She tried to pull away, but I held on. "And the truth is, I've been lying to you your whole life. Not intentionally. But I told you there was no God. No heaven. No purpose beyond what we create for ourselves. And Sophia, every word of that was a lie. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She was crying now. Fully crying. "Stop it. Please stop. Jesus told me to tell you something," I continued. My own voice breaking. "He said, tell Sophia I love her. Tell her I've been waiting for her to talk to me again. Tell her it's not too late." Her head snapped up. "He said my name?" "Yes. He knows you, Sophia. He's always known you. He knew you before you were born. He knit you together in your mother's womb. And he's been calling to you your whole life. But I taught you not to listen. I taught you he wasn't real. And I was wrong. We sat there in that coffee shop for 3 hours. I told her everything. The death. The tunnel. The life review. The encounter with Jesus. Heaven. The mission he'd given me. And slowly, so slowly, I watched the walls come down. The skepticism crack. The hunger emerge. Because humans need God. We were created for him. And when we try to live without him, there's a hole. An ache. A longing that nothing else can fill. Sophia had felt that hole her entire life. She'd tried to fill it with achievements, relationships, activism, philosophy. But nothing fit. Nothing satisfied. Until now. "I want to believe you," she whispered finally. "I want to. But what if you're wrong? What if it was just your brain dying in?" "Then I'm wrong," I said simply. "But Sophia, what if I'm right? What if Jesus is real? What if heaven and hell are real? What if you're going to stand before him one day and he's going to ask you, 'What did you do with my son?' What will you say?" She stared at me for a long moment. Then she whispered, "I don't know." "You can know him," I said. "Right now. Right here. All you have to do is ask." Jesus doesn't require perfect theology. He doesn't require you to have all the answers. He just requires you to be honest. To admit you need him. To ask him to save you. Sophia's hands were shaking. "I don't know how." "Just talk to him. Like you're talking to me. Tell him what's in your heart." She closed her eyes. Tears streaming down her face. And in a voice so quiet I almost couldn't hear it, she prayed. "Jesus, if you're real, if you're really there, I want to know you. I'm tired of feeling empty. I'm tired of pretending nothing matters. I need something real. Please. If you're listening, help me believe." And I watched with eyes that had seen heaven as the presence of Jesus filled that coffee shop. As light that no one else could see surrounded my daughter. As her face changed, softened, broke open, and she gasped. "Dad," she breathed. I feel something. Like warmth. In my chest. Like something woke up inside me." "What is?" "That's him," I said, my own tears flowing freely now. "That's Jesus. He's answering your prayer. He's coming into your heart. He's making you new." Sophia opened her eyes. And they were different. Brighter. Awake. Alive. "He's real," she whispered in wonder. "Oh my God, Dad, he's real." "Yes," I said. "He is." And we held each other and cried. Father and daughter. Both brought to Jesus. Both given new life. Both saved. That was 3 years ago. 3 years since I died and came back. 3 years since Jesus gave me a mission. 3 years since my life truly began. And I need to tell you what's happened since. Because it's important. Because you need to hear it. I resigned from my position at Mass General. I couldn't continue being a surgeon, not because I'd lost my skills, but because Jesus had called me to something else. Something more important than saving physical bodies. He'd called me to save souls. I started speaking. Everywhere. Anywhere people would listen. Churches. Conferences. Hospitals. Universities. Podcasts. YouTube channels. I told my story. Over and over and over. And I watched with joy and with heartbreak as people responded. Some believed immediately. Ran to Jesus. Surrendered their lives. Were transformed. Others mocked. Called me delusional. Said I was suffering from brain damage. Said I was exploiting vulnerable people. Said I'd become a religious fanatic. And you know what? I didn't care. Because I'd seen him. I'd seen heaven. I'd seen hell. And once you've seen those things, human opinion doesn't matter anymore. Only truth matters. Only eternity matters. In 3 years, I've spoken to over 50,000 people in person. My testimony videos online have been watched over 15 million times. And I've received thousands of messages from people who've given their lives to Jesus because of my story. Atheists who fell to their knees weeping. Muslims who met Jesus and recognized him as more than a prophet, as Savior. Hindus who encountered the one true God and abandoned their idols. Buddhists who discovered that enlightenment isn't found in emptiness but in the fullness of Christ. Agnostics who stopped sitting on the fence and chose life. And Christians, nominal, lukewarm Christians, who woke up. Who realized their faith wasn't just a social club or a moral framework but a relationship with the living God. I've watched marriages restored. Addictions broken. Suicides prevented. Lives transformed. All because Jesus let me die so I could finally live. But I need to tell you something else. Something urgent. When I was in heaven, when Jesus was showing me the things I needed to see, he showed me something I haven't talked about publicly until now. He showed me time. Not in the linear way we experience it on earth. But all time. Compressed. Visible. From creation to the end. And I saw how close we are to the end. I can't give you dates. Jesus said very clearly, no one knows the day or the hour. But I can tell you, I saw in his eyes, we don't have much time left. The window is closing. The opportunity to choose is narrowing. And there are millions of people, billions of people, who still haven't heard. Who still haven't chosen. Who are living their lives completely unaware that eternity is real and it's coming and they're not ready. And that's why I'm telling you this story. That's why I'm speaking right now, to you, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you're hearing this. Because Jesus brought you here. He led you to this testimony. This isn't an accident. This isn't random chance. This is divine appointment. And he's asking you right now, in this moment, the same question he asked me. What do you want? Do you want him? Or do you want to remain your own God? Do you want life? Or do you want to keep pretending that death is the end? Do you want truth? Or do you want to keep hiding behind comfortable lies? Listen to me. Please. I'm begging you as someone who's been there. As someone who's seen it. If you're an atheist, I was you. I spent 20 years believing consciousness was just neurons firing. That death was oblivion. That God was a delusion. And I was wrong. Completely, utterly, catastrophically wrong. And if I hadn't died, I would have spent eternity separated from the God who created me. Please don't make my mistake. Don't wait until you're dead to discover the truth. Jesus is real. And he's holding out his nail-scarred hands to you right now. Take them. Please. Just take them. If you're Muslim, I've met dozens of Muslims who've had encounters with Jesus. Who've seen him in dreams, in visions, in near-death experiences. And they all say the same thing, he is more than a prophet. He is Lord. The Quran calls him the Word of God, the Spirit of God, born of a virgin, sinless, miracle worker. But it doesn't tell you the full truth that he died for you. That he rose for you. That he's waiting for you. Allah means the God. But Jesus has a name. Jesus calls you by your name. And he loves you more than you can imagine. Come to him. He won't reject you. He'll embrace you. If you're Hindu, you've been taught that there are many paths to God. Many gods. Many truths. But I'm telling you, I've been to the other side. And there is one judge. One Savior. One name by which we must be saved. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Not through karma. Not through reincarnation. Not through good works. Through Jesus. He is the fulfillment of everything your heart has been seeking. The love you've been looking for. The peace you've been longing for. Stop searching and start surrendering. Jesus is waiting. If you're Buddhist, you've been taught that suffering ends through enlightenment, through detachment, through eliminating desire. But I'm telling you, I met the one who eliminates suffering. Not by detachment, but by attachment. By connection. By relationship. Jesus doesn't ask you to extinguish yourself. He asks you to find yourself, your true self, in Him. Nirvana isn't nothingness. It's fullness. The fullness of knowing the God who made you and loves you and died for you. Come to Him. Let Him show you what you've been missing. If you're agnostic, you're sitting on the fence, saying, I don't know. I can't know. Maybe there's a God, maybe there isn't. But friend, eternity doesn't wait for you to feel certain. Death doesn't delay until you've figured it out. And I'm telling you, as someone who's been there, you can know. You can know today. Right now. Jesus said, seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. Stop sitting on the fence and start seeking. Cry out to Him. Say, Jesus, if you're real, show me. And I promise you, He will. Because He did for me. And He'll do it for you. If you're a Christian, but lukewarm, nominal, going through the motions, wake up. Jesus didn't die so you could have a comfortable religion. He died so you could have abundant life. So you could have relationship. So you could be transformed. Stop treating church like a social club. Stop treating the Bible like a good book. Stop treating prayer like a shopping list. Jesus is alive. He's present. He's waiting for you to encounter Him, really encounter Him the way I did. Don't wait until you die to meet Him. Meet Him now. Fall in love with Him now. Live for Him now. Because time is short. And if you've never prayed, if you've never given your life to Jesus, I'm going to lead you in a prayer right now. And if you pray this prayer with sincerity, with honesty, with your whole heart, Jesus will save you. He will come into your life. He will transform you. You don't have to clean yourself up first. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to understand everything. You just have to be honest. Just have to say yes. So if you're ready, if you want Jesus, if you want life, pray this with me. Jesus, I believe you are the Son of God. I believe you died on the cross for my sins, for every lie I've told, every wrong I've done, every moment I've lived for myself instead of for you. I believe you rose from the dead. I believe you're alive right now. And I need you. I can't save myself. I can't fix myself. I can't earn my way to heaven. So I'm asking you, please forgive me. Please save me. Please come into my life and make me new. I surrender. I give you everything, my past, my present, my future. I'm yours. From this moment forward, I'm going to live for you. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for dying for me. Thank you for giving me life. In Jesus' name, amen. If you just prayed that prayer, if you meant it, then welcome. Welcome to the family. Welcome to life. Welcome home. You just made the most important decision you will ever make. More important than your career, your relationships, your achievements. You just chose eternity. You just chose Jesus. And He is rejoicing over you right now. The angels are celebrating. Heaven is cheering. Now here's what you need to do. 1. Tell someone. Don't keep this secret. Tell a Christian friend. Tell a pastor. Tell someone who can help you grow. The Bible says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. 2. Find a Bible-believing church. You need community. You need teaching. You need fellowship with other believers who will encourage you and help you grow. 3. Read the Bible. Start with the Gospel of John. Read about Jesus. Learn his words. Let him speak to you through Scripture. 4. Pray every day. Talk to Jesus like you'd talk to a friend. Because he is your friend. Your Savior. Your Lord. Your everything. 5. Be baptized. Jesus commanded it. It's a public declaration of your faith. A symbol of dying to your old life and rising to new life in Christ. And if you're watching this and you didn't pray that prayer, if you're still skeptical, still resistant, still holding back, then I need to leave you with one final warning. You don't know when your life will end. I didn't know. I was 46. Healthy. In the prime of my life. And I died on a random Tuesday at 2:37 a.m. You could die today. Tonight. Tomorrow. And the moment you take your last breath, you will stand where I stood. Before Jesus. And he will ask you, what did you do with my son? And you won't be able to lie. Won't be able to make excuses. Won't be able to say, I didn't know. Because you're hearing this right now. You're being warned right now. You're being invited right now. And if you reject Jesus, if you choose to remain your own God, then you're choosing eternity without him. And that is hell. Please. Please. Don't choose hell. Don't choose separation. Don't choose the darkness. Choose Jesus. Choose life. Choose home. He's waiting for you. Right now. Arms open. Nail-scarred hands reaching toward you. Saying your name. Calling you home. Don't wait. Don't delay. Don't ignore this. Because this might be your last chance. Jesus is real. Heaven is real. Hell is real. And eternity is forever. Choose wisely. Choose now. Choose Jesus. I'm Dr. Marcus Holloway. I died. I met Jesus. And I came back to tell you. He is real. And he loves you. And he's waiting. Come home.